Hi.
Hi, morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Reflection Zoom training. I hope everybody is having a great Saturday morning. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. All right, if at any time you have a question during this meeting, please just unmute yourself so that you can just shoot me the, go ahead and ask the question, okay? All righty, this morning, let's start doing some screen sharing. All right, I'm going to start first with the local leader guide checklist, or the local leaders guide, which has the checklist in it. I wanted to say thanks to everybody for signing up to help with this program, and thank you to everybody for joining this morning as well, taking some time out from your Saturday. This year's theme, of course, is I Matter Because. We'll go over that a little bit more when we go over the theme search form, but you'll see when you upload these documents for yourself that they're all fairly customizable. You'll get this toolbar at the top, so you can kind of fix it to where it works best for you. But the local leaders guide, which is what this first document is, was super helpful, especially when I first started out doing reflections, when I knew nothing at all, because it has a ton of information in it. And you'll see the context here. It's got the top 5 steps for having a successful program. And then it has the checklist in it, which I really, really loved. And I still use today because it keeps me on track and it keeps me making sure I'm doing everything I need to do. It's got the instructions for judges, the event planning guide, all that stuff is in here. And with that being said, I am going to skip to the first one, getting started.
I think she would tell you where we're getting this information from.
Register
Jeez.
all your programs with them. You can get all this information from the Georgia PTA website. Was that Stephanie?
Yes.
Yeah, you can get all this information off the Georgia PTA website. I'm just going over it with you briefly, and then I will show you on the website where everything is. But if you have a question, yes, please just jump in like Stephanie did, and let me know what your questions are. Like if you don't know where something's coming from, or if you don't understand what I'm saying, because I talk a little bit fast because I want to get to the questions part, because I want to be able to make sure I answer everybody's questions before I let you go. National wants you to register at pta.org/reflections. Once you go on there, you'll see it says register program. Yes, ma'am.
So the very first thing we need to do is register, correct?
Not the very first thing. This is from National, and that's what they tell you the first thing to do is.
Okay.
You have from July of 2020 to February of 2021 to register. So you have
Okay, thank you.
plenty of time. So if you're like me, I also run my local school unit program. And so right now I have more important things to do, busier things to do than to register my program. Sorry, National. And I know I have plenty of time to do that. So I usually wait and do mine around, December, honestly, when we're on school break. And I'm not so crazy busy running around. So but yeah, you can register between now and February of next year. Plenty of time. Okay, I'm going to skip down the page to the checklist. Here's that checklist I talked about, which has, a list of all the stuff, when you should be doing it, like during the getting starting phase. These are the things you need to do. And again, National says, register first, but not necessarily. Yes, ma'am. Tabitha, you had a question? Yeah, okay. And then promote your program, review submissions, celebrate participants, wrap up. So I love that checklist because it helps me stay on track. Here's your judge's instruction sheet that's included in here. Print this out, use it when you are giving your judges their information, when you're giving them the entries. You want to give them their instruction sheet and the judge's rubric.
Question on judges.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Can we pick anyone? Does it have to, I mean, I know they need to be knowledgeable on the subject or
Correct.
that category, but are there any restrictions? Age,
no, not
education?
Age. No, the only thing I say is don't use a teacher from your school to judge your entries because they're going to be biased. They know your school's students, and so they're not going to be able to judge unbiased, but totally, like if you're in elementary school, ask the middle school teachers to help you judge entries, or if you're in middle school, ask the high school, or other way around. If you're in middle school, ask the elementary school teachers. You can ask the music director at your church to help you judge your music entries. You can help your daughter's ballet teacher ask them to judge your dance entries, things like that. Photographer can judge visual art pieces as well as photography pieces and vice versa. So if you have somebody that does art for a living, like they do ads, or they run an art studio, they can judge photography entries as well as the visual arts. But but be creative, just reach out to your community, ask folks to help you, that if you have friends that work in that area and they are willing to help you, get them to help you judge.
And then one judge per category or more?
It depends on how many entries you have. Usually at the local level, if you're an elementary school, you might have a ton of visual art pieces, but that's probably going to be the only category you have a super amount in. Otherwise, you only need one judge. And technically, if you only have 2 entries per grade per category, they don't need to be judged. You can just send them on to the next level. But I do ask that you be kind and you look at them and see, are they worthy of being sent on to the next level? Because remember, at the next level, you're asking another judge to spend their time, away from stuff they need to do to look at these entries. So if it's not something worth sending on, don't send it on to the next level. Go ahead and give it the certificate of participation or an award at your level, but then don't necessarily forward it on to the next level. If you don't think, it's that great a quality. Like if you get something that's on a piece of notebook paper that's been traced, because I get that sometimes when I was in elementary school, I would get the students would trace cartoons out of a book on a piece of notebook paper and turn that in. And that's not, number one, it's not original artwork. So that really is disqualified right there. And then number 2, if it's a 5th grader, that's not that great of an accomplishment to trace something. So I would give that kid an award at my level, or I would give them the participation award, but then I wouldn't send it on to the next level. just because I knew, you know, it's not gonna do well at the next level anyway. But
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, if it's, you know, if it's something that's hard to tell, if you can't tell whether it should be moved forward, then just send it forward. Don't worry about it, because they'll figure it out at the next level. You know what I mean? So if you know it's not that fantastic, or if you know it's like traced or whatever, then don't send it forward. But if you don't know, then go ahead, send it forward. It's totally fine.
Yep. Great, thank you.
Question, we're in Cobb County, and we are in remote school now for this point. I know a couple other counties in the Metro Atlanta area are as well. If we are doing remote learning at the point when entries need to come in, should we still be trying to collect hard copy entries, or should they be sending them electronically?
Okay, so I will get to that in just a sec. Let me finish up with a little bit of this, because right now I'm going to do the training according to Plan A, which is my plan for the year, as if things are going to be mostly normal, air quotes. But then I also have a Plan B, and I have what I call my Plan W for the worst case scenario. So, but I do have plans for all of those scenarios. So yeah, just give me just a minute to get through some of this, and then I will go over all of that. This is the scorecard for judges. For those of you that are new, this is where you'll list entries for each student. And then the judges will be able to put their score for it on here, and then get it back to you, and then that way you'll know who has won. Okay, enough of this one. I'm going to move straight into the student entry form packet. So I say packet because it is 3 pages. It's fairly the same as last year. What you will notice is there's more customization on it for your form. So you can put, you know, where the entries are due, by what date, to whom they go to, that kind of thing. If you know when your celebration is going to be, you can put that information here. I almost never know, so I usually just delete all of that sentence there, because I almost never know when mine's going to be. And just depending on the school, you may know that you want to do yours before you take your entries to the council level, or you may want to wait until you get your entries back from council level. Just totally up to you. I personally like to do mine before I take them on to the council level. I am at the high school level now, so I usually do a small little something before I take mine to council. And then once I get my entries back from council, I do, in January, I do like a display in my media center, where I take up a whole bookcase and put everything out, and put information. And then I can also put, how they did at council, as well as, which ones are going on to the next level, to state, that kind of thing. You will see on the first page of the student entry packet, it's how to enter is the top page. And the first part here is all about the categories and the rules for each category. I have gone in and underlined all the important parts because you'll notice that for dance, music, film, you can only have 5 minutes in length total for each entry. It can be less than that, but it can't be more than that. But the files that are now accepted are limited. You used to, if you've done reflections in years past, you would have noticed there were like 4 or 5 different formats you could submit these in. That is no longer the case. National has changed their student entry portal, which is what we put the entries, we upload the entries in. Gretchen, you had a question?
No.
Okay.
I'm fine.
That's the portal where we upload the entries to National. So now it will only take 4 formats: MP4 or AVI for visual files, or MP3 or WAV for audio files. And so that you'll notice that's the big change. So I've underlined all that stuff. But what my suggestion is, and what I really, really recommend, is that you tell all your students that MP4 and MP3 are the two that they should be working in. The reason for that is that almost every computer can open an MP3 or an MP4 file. If you have a WAV file or an AVI file, that might not be the case. And if the file can't be opened, then it can't be judged. And so then it gets automatically disqualified. Let's see, film, music, we talked about, dance, literature. Literature, same, 2,000, can't be longer, 2,000 words, can be turned in on a single side of paper, 8.5 by 11. It can be handwritten or typed. That can also be notebook paper, is totally fine as well. Photography, the print must be at least 3.5 by 5 inches. Can't be larger than 8 by 10. And I know a lot of times when students are reading these rules, they see if it's mounted, it can't be any larger than 11 by 14. That's with mounting, that's not the actual photograph. So if you get a student's photograph that is actually 11 by 14, they need to cut that down to the 8 by 10. Otherwise, it'll be disqualified at the next level. Visual arts. Okay, we still have 2D and 3D. 2D has not changed. Can't be bigger than 24 by 30 inches, and that's with matting. Framed entries are not accepted. Stretched canvas is still not accepted, but you're going to get those every year. Don't worry about it. Just, you know, if they win at your level, just keep on sending them up. Don't worry about it. The only time that those would actually ever have to be removed from that stretched canvas or from that frame is if it wins at national and I have to actually send the actual entry to national. And then that's my problem, so don't worry about it. Just keep sending it forward and don't try to deal with it at your level. 3D artwork still cannot be bigger than 18 by 18 by 18. That is just because bigger than that does not travel well. Sometimes 18 by 18 by 18 doesn't travel well. If you are getting entries that are complicated and they're not packed well, ask your, you know, and if it wins at your level, ask your student to give you the packing materials to take it to the next level. And if you, usually if you explain to the parent, you know, this is because, you know, it needs to get there in one piece, because if it gets there and it's not, you know, it's all broken up in pieces, it can't be judged and it gets disqualified, and then you're not going to be happy if your student's entry is all busted up either. They should give you that stuff. Otherwise, you know, you shouldn't have to be, you know, paying for that with your budget. I ask that you use your budget to celebrate your kids and to pay for a program. But, you know, the only time I ask you to fix entries, air quotes, is that if it's something that's made out of pastels or chalk, or it has glitter all over it, then I would say wrap it. And by wrap it, I mean in that cellophane wrap, like what you would wrap a basket with. It's those clear sheets of plastic, not cellophane like Food Cling, not that, but the clear cellophane wrap. And that's just to keep that entry from degrading or from rubbing on another entry and degrading the integrity of the work of the other entry. That's the only time I really say, you know, try to fix it or repackage it the way it's supposed to be packaged. Other than that, okay.
A quick question, Angela.
Yep, go.
Actually, a couple. So when you spoke about the cling wrap, everything does not need to be cling wrap, visual art?
Nope. No, and don't use cling wrap, just the plastic wrap, but not food wrap. Sorry, not food wrap. Yeah, no, you don't have to wrap everything, just the entries that are fragile, like the ones that are done in pastel or chalk, or if they've glued like 1,000 cotton balls on it, or, you know, a couple pounds of glitter. Oh, sorry, a couple pounds of glitter, then yeah. Wrap that, because that's not going to make it from point A to point B without coming apart at some point. But other than that, no, don't worry about it.
And then I had a second
Yes, ma'am.
The second question being like things for the video, the dance, not exceeding 5 minutes and things like that. Is that something we check when we collect everything before we pass on to even the judging?
Yes, because, and I'll show you on the form where they should put the details and should say how long it is. But the judge will see it that it's more than 5 minutes or it's less than 5 minutes or whatever. And 5 minutes is a lot of time. It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it's a lot of time. If you actually like try to dance for 5 minutes, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a long time. And so most kids' videos are not going to be that long. They're going to be way shorter. Unless they're high school kids, and then they're reading the rules. They know the rules because they've been doing it for a while, and they're not gonna mess that up. If something happens and one slips through, don't worry about it, because again, it would only really have to be dealt with at the state level, and then we can always cut off parts of it. We can't add, but we can always, you know, if we need to take off some time, we can get the student to edit it and resubmit it, or, you know, whatever we need to do. But for, you know, 99.9% are not going to be more than 5 minutes. I think I've only ever seen one in my 11 years of reflections that was longer than 5 minutes. So, and that was just a student who got carried away, and she did her same 10 dance moves like 100 times. But, you know, it's almost never going to be that. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, for every category, we need to check the dimensions and everything before we send for judging, ideally.
Ideally, yes. Ideally, it should come to you already. And for the most part, they will be, because whatever category they enter, they're going to look at the rules specific to that category. And so they're going to be on it more than you would think. The things that they're going to fall behind on are like the theme and the titles and making sure their form is filled out correctly. But usually their entry is going to be more correct than not, other than packaging and the container for travel for 3D. Those are the things that usually get left undone by the students.
Right. My last question. So when we set up our time frame on how we're going to do it for our school, do we need to keep time after they submit it for them to readjust if needed, before it goes for the first level of judging?
Oh, you mean to the next level?
Like say a dance
right
is more than 5 minutes.
Maybe just a day or two, but I wouldn't give them a ton of time, no. Because again, most of them are going to be fine. So you're not going to need a ton of time. Maybe just, I normally only allow like a day or so. I don't, you know, because once you get them, you can look at the big things like size and, you know, is it totally the wrong size? Because that's the biggest thing that needs to be cut. Things like artist statements and stuff, you can tell them they need to fix their artist statement, or they need to, you know, work on their title while it's being judged. So all those things you'll see once you take them in and start getting them to the judges. So you can just make your list then, and then while it's being judged, they can fix it then, unless it's a size issue. And then that one, you can like straight away turn it back around and say, hey, this needs to be cut down, or, you know, you got to take this frame off because with the frame, it's too big or whatever.
Right. And just my last question, how long do you usually leave for judging?
Okay, I will go over that in just a sec too, when I go over suggested dates and stuff. But usually it varies from school to school, like whether you're high school, middle, or elementary. So let me finish this form real quick and then I'll hit that. Somebody else had a question?
I had a question. My name is, I don't know how to change it. I'm Michelle Edwards, but I'm Area 2, Gwinnett County. And I didn't know, I had received this email and it said something about without a reflections committee, all submissions will go directly to the Georgia State PTA. So I wasn't sure what that meant. I did reflections last year. So I don't know, is this? Okay, so you're Area 2 Gwinnett, which for those of you who don't have an area, you have a council or a region. You're either gonna have one or the other. You're either gonna have an area, a region, or a council, and Gwinnett has areas. What's going on right now in Area 2, unfortunately, is that their whole board is stepping down, and so they don't have an incoming reflections chair. Okay.
And so the message that I have heard, I actually was talking to the lady this morning before I started this, who is the past chair. she was told that if nobody stepped up to volunteer for reflections this year, that their council would not do reflections. And
Okay.
so that's what that is addressing, basically.
Okay.
And that falls under my worst case scenario plan, more or
Okay.
less.
Okay.
So yeah, so there is, I have ideas on how to address that, but there is a worst case scenario for that. So if
Okay.
you're in area 2 and your council does not do reflections this year, don't worry, your entries will go from school to state,
Okay.
which I hate to do it that way, but I'm not going to punish the students because your council doesn't have a reflections chair.
Okay.
You know?
I didn't know what that
Yeah,
meant. So,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's the scenario there.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
No,
Thank you.
that's okay. All right, the second page is official rules, and you will see that special artist division is still considered a division. We have grade divisions, which are primary grade, or primary division is preschool through 2nd grade, intermediate is 3rd through 5th grade, middle school division is 6th through 8th grade, high school is 9th through 12th grade, and then special artist is the last division. That is just more information about specific rules, how to enter, who's eligible. And I have been asked this question a lot over the years. The student, nor the student's parents have to be members of PTA or PTSA. Only the student has to attend a school that is in good standing with the state of Georgia PTA. Okay, and that's it. They don't have to be members. Parents don't have to be members. They just have to go to a school that's in good standing. What that means is that you have submitted your dues, you have paid your insurance, your bylaws, all that stuff that you see on this box here on the entry form. The member dues paid, the insurance paid, the bylaws approval date, and usually your bylaws don't get changed every year. If ever, they get changed maybe once every 4 or 5 years or something like that. So you're not going to have a different date every year for that one right there. Did you do
Angela?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Quick question.
Yep.
What if we have someone like who homeschools in the neighborhood and it's that age range? Would they submit through us, or is there another forum that we should tell them to go through?
Bernie Butler
Okay.
is the PTA or PTSA for homeschool students.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And yes, we do take Bernie Butler entries as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way they would do it. So 990s, that's your tax papers have been done and turned in, all that stuff. Now, if you don't know this information, which you should be able to get it from your PTA president, treasurer, secretary, don't sweat over that, because I get a statistical report every month, and so I can get that information from there. So that's not as big a deal as some of the other stuff on here. Local PTA, that's just going to be your school's PTA, you know, Mickey Mouse PTA, whatever. And then your 8-digit ID number. If your ID number is only 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's all you put in here. The other 4 digits are just zeros. Like, for example, down here on the state ID, you see it's only 5 numbers. So when I'm communicating with national, I have to put 3 zeros in front of that. And that's, everybody has an 8-digit number, just maybe half of it is zeros. That's all that is. Program chair would be you, then your email address and your phone number. If you don't want to use your personal email, just make up something, you know, reflections at Mickey Mouse Elementary at yahoo.com or whatever. But make sure you check it, because sometimes I do need to get in touch with you because I have questions, or I need to get in touch with your student and I can't, or, you know, or the students need to get in touch with you. So have some way for folks to be able to get in touch with you. And then what I talked about earlier, council, district, region, state's already on here. Council is where you would put your council name or your area name. Like she was from area 2, so she'd be area 2, district 12, and then the state's already on here. Or if you're in DeKalb, you would be region 1 or 2, and then they're district 11. And then most of the rest of us have a council. I'm from North Fulton, so I'm in North Fulton Council, District 10. If you don't know your district, that's okay, leave it blank. I also know that. Then the students section, their name, their grade, classroom you don't need, parent's name, email, phone number, and address. Now, if a parent doesn't want to give you all this personal information, that's okay. But I need one of the three. So I need an email, a phone number, or an address so that I can get in touch with these folks if I need to. If they are winning at the state level, I need to be able to invite them, and those are sent out by actual mail. So I need that, some form of information to get in touch with them. It doesn't have to be all three if they don't want to give you that. But just one or the other. I do get entries from time to time, and it has the student's name, and it'll say Georgia, and that's it, nothing else, because they just don't want to give out their personal info, and I totally get that. But I promise you that this information is not being blasted everywhere. It's just through PTA, and I never give out a student's phone number, email address, or address ever. The only thing that we talk about sometimes is that, you know, little Jimmy goes to Hopewell Middle School or whatever, but that's it. Then signatures are good. We need those. If they don't sign for you, again, just see where the entry goes. If it doesn't win at your level and go on to the next level, don't worry about it. It's not going to matter that much. If it does win, then that is something they're going to need to fix. They're going to need to sign that. The parent can sign for a younger student. If they can't write that well yet and they don't know how to sign their name, the parent can totally sign for them. And then they pick their division and what category they entered. Again, on here, I put in the size of the 3D visual art. Then the must-haves, title of work and artist statement. We must have a title of work and we must have an artist statement for every entry, and it must be different. So if you have a student and they want to do 4 different dance pieces, that's fine, but each entry must have a separate entry form and a separate title of work and a separate artist statement. Now, the title of work can be untitled if they can't come up with a title, or they can use the theme for the year. It can be I Matter Because. And if they, you know, do a bunch of them, they can be I Matter Because A, I Matter Because B, whatever. But they have to have a title. And then the artist statement has to be at least 10 words. And the artist statement is how their work reflects the theme. So how they look at the theme and how they interpret the theme, that's their artist statement. It can't be something like, I love to dance. Number one, that's not enough words. Number two, that doesn't really tell me how, you know, it's how you're relating this theme to you personally. So that artist statement isn't going to go very far. And when you look at the things that the entries are judged on, the way they interpret the theme is the number one thing. It gets half of the points on the 40-point judging system. 20 points are interpretation of theme. So that is a huge, huge thing for the judges. They look at that first, and then they look at the work itself, and then how they've mastered the medium. Like, was it creative? Creativity is the second thing they look at. And then the last thing they look at is if they have mastered that medium. Like, you know, if it's crayons and pencils, they don't care so much that it's a fantabulous work of art for a 4th grader. It's just how creative were they with the theme and how well did they interpret that theme. The details part, this is where I was saying students should list the sizes of their entries. If it is a dance and they have danced to Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling, they need to write that in here. Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake as background music. They need to cite that. Same thing if they have a film that they've done and they're playing a song in the background. Cite that in here. Also, if they do a film and it's filmed on their iPhone, you know, iPhone 7 or whatever, if they take a picture and it's, you know, mom's iPhone 7, put that on there. If it's literature, this is where you would put the word count for your literature pieces. And, you know, I encourage all the kids to please count it themselves. Otherwise, I have to, and I hate that, especially when most people are typing their stuff. And if you look down here, the computer types it, you know, it tells you how many words are in it. So you just have to write it in. If it's visual art and you've done a sculpture with Legos, just put Legos. Or if it's 2D visual art and it's done with colored pencils and markers, colored pencils and markers. That's all that is. Any questions on the entry form?
Yes, Angie,
Yeah.
it's Kelly Blake.
Uh-huh.
Just curious, do we ever have to get the rights to a song, the artist, like a written
No.
statement saying it's okay?
No, because we are not showcasing that artist's song. We're showcasing the students' work. So plus the student's not performing that song, and we are normally only using a snippet from it. We're not like, because again, the videos can't be more than 5 minutes and most songs are longer than that, but no, we don't. We have never, ever, ever been sued by an artist for that. Not in the 50 years of Reflections history have we ever been sued by an artist for that. But yeah, they don't. That's not a big deal. There is a thing about in visual art about using something that's copyrighted. And usually what they say is, as long as it's not the main focus of the entry, it's totally fine. And so that's what's happening if they're dancing to a song by somebody else. That's not the main focus of the entry. The main focus of the entry is the actual dance itself. And same thing with a film. The main focus is the film. If they're drawing a picture and they like draw out all their favorite Disney princesses, you know, it's the student's ability to draw. It's not the actual Disney princesses kind of thing. And very rarely has National kicked something back and said, that's not acceptable. You know, they've put this way too up in front and made that the focus of it, you know. But yeah, for most, very rarely do we have a problem with copyright when it's something like that. Usually it comes more when they're like taking a picture of something that's copyrighted versus using a song or drawing a picture of it themselves. Okay. Now then, last one is the theme search form. This is on the website, so the student should download this and fill it out themselves, because you'll see on here, this first page of the packet is the rules and the actual form, and it says that they should complete the form and mail it directly to Georgia PTA by November 1st, 2020. And so they should send those in themselves. Now, if for some reason you decide to collect them and mail them all from your school at once, that's totally fine. You can do that. But for the most part, the students are responsible for this. I do say, you know, put this form on your website so the students can get it quicker, but they can also get it from Georgia PTA, so no biggie.
So they have to fill out this form?
Yes, to enter the theme search contest.
Okay, so this is separate.
This is a separate thing. Each year, National PTA does a theme search contest because each theme that we have every year has been picked by the students. So they will be picking for the 22-23 year Reflections program, and that will be announced March 1st. So usually in a year, we know at least 2 themes. The second page of the packet is the past program themes. And so we know starting this year that this year's theme is I Matter Because, and then we know next year's theme is I Will Change the World By. And then in March 1st, they will announce the 22-23 year theme. And then we'll have 3 years worth of themes at one time. But yeah, and the student who wins at the national level gets a $100 prize from National PTA. The states each year, we get to pick 5 winning themes from our state to go on to national to compete for that prize at the national level. And Georgia PTA, we normally get anywhere from 75 to 120 theme search entries a year. So definitely not as many as we do for the rest of the reflections contest, but that is a separate contest. And yes, kids can enter that as well. This one's way easier because all they have to do is write down the theme that they like and then enter their information and send it off. There's no artist statement, there's no packaging, none of that. They can just drop this in the mail and they can enter this as many times as they want. I have a couple students in Savannah who enter about 10 or so different ideas a year. So but yeah, they can enter as many times as they want. And then we always put this page in because it gives them an idea of what themes have been used in the past so that they're not repeating something that's recent, because that will knock down their chances of winning. But then they can also see what has won in the past and maybe use that as an idea to come up with what they want to use as their theme search idea. So, but yeah, these are downloaded from state. You can put it on your website, but you don't have to be responsible for sending them in, okay? All right, speaking of state, let me just go here. Okay, this is the Georgia PTA website, and if you go here, this is our home page here, and it's, as you can see, it's Georgia, spell out the whole word, pta.org, and then you'll see reflections, and there's 2 drop downs, and I do say, please go everybody to the reflections winners page, because it will give you some ideas of how to celebrate virtually. Because as you know, last year we did not get to do our normal celebration. And so what I ended up doing was I made a sway, which is kind of like a PowerPoint for our national winners. We had 11 winners at national last year, which is the highest number we've had. And so that was a record for us. We're very happy and proud of our kids for that. But then also for the announcement of our winners last year, what I did was I went on my YouTube channel and I did the winners. I just called them out by category and recorded that so that they still got to hear their names announced. It was still kind of public. And then if mom and dad only wanted to watch their one category, they didn't have to sit through the whole program, but they could just do that. And my YouTube channel has a lot of training stuff on it as well. And it is, if you go onto YouTube and you just start typing in Georgia PTA reflections something, you'll see these things pop up, but it's this little purple flower, that's my channel. But if you go to our page and you just click on one of these, it'll take you to my YouTube channel. And so then you can see the rest of them. But they're training videos that I recorded last year. And I broke down the training into different categories, like how to package, how to do judging, how do you celebrate on a small budget? How do you celebrate, different things you could do, different ideas, that kind of thing. So those are all on there. I tried to keep them to 15 minutes or less so that they're not super long. But check out the YouTube channel. That will give you some ideas of how to do some virtual stuff, but also it has some good training stuff on there. Back to the reflections page, if you go to the first drop down box, which is submissions, that will take you to the main reflections page. Now, right here, if you're not getting the newsletters and information from the state, please go here and put in your info so that you can subscribe to the state website, because every time we send out new updates or information, it comes through this. And most of it comes from Constant Contact, but a lot of the training and stuff that we've been doing lately has been coming through MailChimp, so you might see that sometimes too, but it will all say that it's from Georgia PTA. Let's see, this is the like Facebook video that you can put on your website to, run as your commercial, put it on your Facebook page to show it's the call for entries. That's totally easy to use. And then all the information that's on here, anything that's in yellow, you can just click on and it will download for you. So like that, hold on, open. This is my calendar that I have made for this year. And a lot of this is suggested deadlines or deadlines that we might have to push back, that kind of thing. So when we were talking earlier about the deadline that you would have for your school, what I tell everybody is to back up your deadline. If you're the local school unit, you want to back it up at least 2 weeks from what your council deadline is. And I tell councils to back up their deadline about a month from me. So right now, my deadline for councils to turn in their entries is 9th and 10th. So if the councils are having to turn into me on the 9th and 10th, then probably their deadline is going to be around the 1st of November. So it may be end of October or the second week of November, but it's somewhere around there. But again, those dates, these are all kind of tentative. These are my Plan A dates. But those can all be pushed back if we need to. And then this also has like all the national PTA stuff on it, like the Arts and Education Week is September 13th through the 20th. And there's an Arts and Education Leaders Guide that you can get from Georgia PTA website to use to help promote that. National Arts and Humanities Month is the whole month of October. That's every single year. That doesn't change from year to year. And so right now, for me, my local deadline, I have listed as Friday, October 16th. But that can be pushed back if we need to. That's going on the assumption that we get back into school by October, around October. If we don't, that can be pushed back a little bit. Or if it's looking like we're not going to get back into school at all this year, then the other things I am suggesting that we do for our deadlines is collect them in containers at the school. So right now what I have is my advertising is up on my website. I'm asking the school for glass space at the front of the building because there are still a few people coming in to get this or that or fill out papers or whatever, and they're dropping off and picking up. And so I'm asking for that space to put up my poster and my information. I'm also asking to put up yard signs in front of the school. We had a long fence line running at the top of our school, and so I'm asking to put up some, either hang a banner on the fence line or a yard sign. I have not been told yes or no on either one yet. So that's my other way of advertising for folks who are driving past the school every day. I'm making sure that my information is going out in the e-blast every week. There's a PTA e-blast that goes out once a week and a school one. So there's 2 different ones that go out each week. So I'm asking to be able to put, you know, a little snippet or a little commercial for Reflections every week in those. And just keep sending that information out there. I recorded a Facebook video that's just a few seconds long, and it's talking about I matter because, using the theme, and I just state, you know, why I think I matter and show my interpretation of the theme, and that's my video. You know, make one of those, put it on your own Facebook site, use that as your, you know, e-blast snippet for the week kind of thing.
Oh.
There's all kinds of videos and stuff that you can do. There's stuff from National that you can use. Yes, ma'am. Who's asking a question?
Sorry.
Yes,
how
ma'am.
do we know what our council deadline is?
You would have to ask council because councils are currently making their calendars or have been working on their calendars. And so they are probably doing the same thing I am. They're making a, you know, this is probably what it's going to be, but it might have to be pushed back kind of thing. And so that's why I say make the assumption that the council deadline will be somewhere around end of October or 1st of November. That way you can go ahead and set your deadline. And then if it gets pushed back,
Angela,
push back. Yes.
I'm sorry, did you say that if we don't have a Reflections chair at council, just go ahead and send it to state?
If you don't have Reflections at your council level, which right now I have only heard that Area 2 in Gwinnett might not have one. But otherwise, so far, everybody I have talked to, they are going to have some kind of program. It may have to be all virtual. but they will have something. Well, it won't be all virtual, obviously, because they'll be taking the entries, but they'll have like a fairly no contact drop off, and they'll do the judging, and they'll do a virtual kind of celebration, and they'll have to like mail the awards to the students and then get the entries back with that same kind of no contact kind of method. But they are, everybody I've talked to so far, except for Area 2, is planning to do something. They don't know exactly what yet, but they are planning to have some kind of program this year. So I haven't, Area 2 is the only one. And the reason that Area 2 is saying that is because they don't have anybody as a chair yet. So that's why they're kind of, you know, saying, okay, well, this, we may not have a chair, we may not be able to do a program. So that's the only reason Area 2 is saying that. But so far, everyone else I have talked to, they are planning a program. I have had councils ask me, could they limit the type of entry, meaning that they only would take entries that they can receive digitally, music, film, dance, and literature. And that is up to them, but I have said to them, if they do that, they're still going to have to print those out or download them onto a jump drive to bring to me, because I still need the actual entry. I don't have the resources at the state level to be able to print out every single literature entry, and I definitely don't have the resources to provide jump drives for every music, film, or dance entry. So they would still have to bring those to me, the actual hard copy. So I'm not suggesting that for anybody, because there are some no contact ways to get the entries. Put a bucket, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting a bucket, if we are not open, I'm going to put a bucket out in front of the school if they'll let me. Or we also have a covered walkway by the gymnasium. I'm going to put my Rubbermaid container over there to collect my entries when it's time to turn them in. And then that way they can just drop them in the bucket, put the lid on it, it don't get wet if it rains, and then I can pick them up. That way there's no contact that way. Once you get your entries to your house, you can spray them off with Lysol. They should dry okay. I wouldn't spray directly on the like visual art or photography pieces. Just kind of spray it in the air and let it float towards the piece if you want, or leave it out on your porch to air out for a couple of days and then bring it into your house if you don't want to bring it in immediately, kind of thing. Those all disinfect the entries. I've had chairs who tell me they're going to put the bucket on their own porch because they don't want to go to the school and pick it up themselves. You can do that as well. Because, you know, if you're going to that school, then you're going to live within the area of that school. So your home address is just as easy as the school's. I just say the school because everybody knows that address already and I don't have to give them directions. And I live in a townhome community, so I don't have necessarily a porch space as some people who live in a house might. So that's why I'm going to use the school instead. And then when it's time to return entries to the student, same thing, put it back in that bucket, put it in front of the school or off to the side, wherever the school, you know, gives you space to do that. But and the school may want you to be standing there or whatever with it. And you can do that if you do your drop off on a certain day. Like if you say, okay, I'm going to be there Monday at, you know, 10 a.m. and that's when they have to bring them and drop them off, or I'll be there Friday at 2 p.m. or whatever. And then you'll just stand, you know, 10 feet back and they'll bring them and put them in the bucket and walk away. Those kinds of ways are no contact ways of collecting and returning stuff to the students. And then if we have to do virtual programs, then we do a virtual program. And I'll probably be doing something similar that I did with the state this past year for my virtual program at the high school if I have to do that. But again, plan A is if we get back in the school by, say, end of October. If we do not get back into the school by end of October, then my plan B calendar time is going to be to move the state deadline back to the end of the month. So literally it would be like the 30th of December. because that would still give me enough time to, you know, kind of push stuff through judging and get it back so that I could have some kind of celebration program in April instead of March as we normally would. But so the deadlines can be pushed back a little bit. You don't have a ton of leeway. The reason being is that all of the entries from state are due to national by midnight on the last day of February. And so I don't have a ton of time to get the entries to me, get them judged, and then get them to national, that being the date. And that is only if national is not planning on pushing their date back. And so far, I have not heard anything like that. We start having our monthly meetings with national, the reflections chairs, I mean, next week. And so once we start having those talks, I'm sure these are all going to be things that they bring up to us. And as soon as I know something different, then I will let everybody know. But right now, I'm just going based on what I have heard from national, which is that we are pushing ahead. We are going to have a year of reflections, just like always. I'm asking everybody to please be very flexible and to, you know, put on your thinking cap and be creative. Because yeah, it's going to be a different year. Obviously, it's not going to be what we normally would have. Okay, and that's okay. Also on this page, I said anything that's in yellow, you can just click on and download it. You will see here reflections documents. And so right now we have promotional materials, special artist division, rules and forms, and submission documents. Submission documents are things like the checklist, celebration guide, instructions for judges, the judging scorecard, participation form, and winner's log. Now, when you submit your entries to the next level, you need to submit it with the local unit participation form and the reflections winners log. And there is more information in the YouTube videos on exactly how to do these. But if you guys have questions or you need more help, this is a lot of information. Don't get overwhelmed by it, because I promise you it's much simpler than it looks. But if you start looking at stuff and you're like, wait, I don't know what this means, or I don't understand this, please just send me an email. My email address is reflections@Georgia, spell out the whole word, PTA.org. reflections@georgiapta.org. And I am happy to call you if you need to and walk you through anything, or explain something better, you know, whatever you need, because that's what I'm here for. I am here to help make your reflections life easier. So any help you need, just let me know.
I have one quick question. So
yes,
is the student going to be responsible for, in Gwinnett, if nobody steps up as the chair, to get their piece to the state, or is that something I should do?
As the local, I'm asking if that doesn't happen in Gwinnett, I'm asking the local school chairs to get the entries to me, because at least that way it would go through some round of judging, because at the state level, I get about 2,000 entries a year.
Okay.
Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And if that's what's going to happen, then that's definitely going to increase that number. So I'm asking that the local school chair at least put it through that first round of judging and then bring it on to me. I do have a school right now who is in that situation in Forsyth County, simply because their council just has decided to only support PTO stuff and not PTA stuff.
Okay.
Is weird, because they still call themselves a PTA/PTO council, which you can't be both. But they only support PTO stuff. And so they have no place to go. And they have one school that definitely participates every year. And it's honestly, it's not fair to those kids. So I take those from that one school, but they have always been the exception. And I'm waiting for them to tell me any day that they're going to be PTO as well. And then that will take care of that. But so right now, you know, so it's not like I haven't done this, you know, I haven't had this in the past. I have. This is not my favorite situation, but I will do that for the students, because I don't want them to feel like their entry would be done for nothing. And not that it's not nothing to win at their school level, but you know, you want to see it go somewhere else. And especially if they've participated, you know, in the past. And if it's a senior who's participated, you know, most of their school career, and then now this is going to be, you know, their last year and it's not going to go anywhere, I can't do that to the students. So it would be a bunch more work for me, but I will totally take it for that. So rules and forms, just what it says. It is the abridged zip file of rules if you want that for just your website, the student packet, and then it's each individual category of rules as well. Special artist division, it just has more information about the special artist division. Promotional materials, that's things like volunteer job descriptions, the shortened bridge packaging rules section, the tips for promotion, arts and education guide that I talked about, the flyers from National, the I Matter Because in Spanish and English, the Facebook text, the Facebook post things, the text, which is, this is the text part right here. So if you download that, that's what you're going to get, is just that picture. And then a sample student certificate. I do one of these every year just because I'm one of the cheapest people you'll ever meet in your life. And if I can do something for free or get somebody to give it to me, I'm gonna. And you can buy really nice, beautiful certificates, but again, they cost money. And you know, with budgets probably being less than what they normally are, I'm just saying you can download this, fill it in, print it out on some nice cardstock, and it's just as, you know, it's just as good. Nobody's gonna fault you for that. The flyer from National, I have this pulled up, so let me just show you. It's very similar to the one we've seen in the last couple of years. They're using kind of this gritty art kind of thing for it. And then you can fill in your details here. You can post this on your website with your details. You can put it up, you know, on the glass space I was talking about asking for. You can, you know, I'm actually trying to figure out how to make this large enough to hang on the fence so that they can see it driving by on the road. I think I'm going to end up doing pieces of poster board and just having my son free draw it for me because he's very artistic, and then just use the Reflections logo, and that way it'll catch their attention when they're driving by, and kids will be like, oh yeah, I forgot about Reflections. But yeah, any questions, guys? That's a lot of stuff, and again, don't look at all of it and go, oh my God, this is overwhelming, because it's really not as complicated as all of this looks.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
We had 2 state winners at Kemp, and I know that you did your videos, and that was wonderful. Did they win any awards or certificates or medals?
Yes, if a student places first, second, or third at state, they will get a certificate from us as well as a medallion that has their category on it and what place they won. And if they won first, second, or third in literature, photography, and visual art, 2D visual art, let me correct that, I still have those entries currently because we are still trying to figure out with the High Museum if we can do some kind of display there with those entries. I think it's going to have to be virtual display, and that would mean I would have to take pictures of all the entries and upload them to their website, and I'm not sure how hard that would be. So I'm still looking at that. I will be deciding in the next week if that's what I'm going to do. If not, then I'm going to be returning all of those to the councils, and then they'll get it back to the local units. Other than that, most councils have already picked up all of the other pieces and are in the process of figuring out how to return them as well.
Okay, we had 2 film category winners. So, and I haven't heard anything from council about where the medals or certificates are. So
they either got mailed by me. What council are you in?
I'm in Tom Mathis, and we had a lack of leadership.
So, right, yes. So I can tell you what's happening with those. They're
Yeah.
actually in my living room right now.
Perfect.
Because they are the folks that are going to be stepping up to that position. She's currently out of town. And so as soon as she gets back, she is going to get in touch with me, and then I will get those pieces back to her. And then she's going to get them back that way.
Okay.
So I do
Thank
not
you.
mail those. If it's a smaller council, like Marietta City Council, they only had like 4 winners maybe, I think. And so I just mailed those directly to the students. But Tom Mathis, they won quite a few. Yeah. So I didn't try to mail all those. Plus I knew that the lady was going to be meeting up with me and getting them back. So
do you know her name, the new representative?
I know April Morell is who's picking them up from me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think she might have a or she might have the helper. That's not really been decided yet, I don't think. So, but yeah, she was gonna pick those up when she gets back from out of town. And then most of the other councils meeting today actually with South Cobb and Jesse Coleman from District 9 to pick up their stuff, and then they'll be returning. And then there's only like 2 more. Savannah Chatham and Marietta City Council have not gotten their stuff back yet. But other than that, everybody else's has been returned, other than the 2D visual art, photography, and lit that I was talking about that I may still be able to display somehow at the high. We were not able, unfortunately, to do certificates for everybody. And I mean certificates of certificates of participation. The certificates for the students who placed first, second, or third, those were all done and are with the medallions for those students. But the participation ones that we normally do for every student that comes in from council, we were not able to get all those done this year before the office shut down. And we tried to do it remotely. Like, we do have our office manager working from home, and the office assistant is working from her home, but the office assistant is the one who like does the certificates, and then she would have to email the file to the office manager who has the printer at her house, and then she's trying to print them out, and it just was not working. And so we had to stop doing that. We thought maybe that we would have been back in the office by now, but since we are not, we still have not been able to do those. So unfortunately, we got some of them done before we shut down the office, but then the rest of them. So if you don't get yours back when you get your entries from your council, that's why. It's not their fault, it's mine. We just were not able to make that happen for everybody. Unfortunately, that's just one of the casualties of this year. So any other questions? Did I cover everything I promised I was going to cover for you guys? I am putting the COVID tips. I'm making a list of tips. That will be on here too, in this same little area, like where the calendar is. I'm going to put some more, like, did you know kind of information about the program itself? Like, did you know that this is how this should be packaged, or this is how this should be packaged, that kind of thing. This is what prizes you win at the national level, that kind of stuff. I'm putting some more of that kind of info under here. So check for that. I am posting a COVID tip about every 10 or so days on our Facebook page. So if you are not already a Facebook follower, just check there about once a week or so, because we do put updates there. Anytime I update calendar information, or what's going on with the program information, anytime that stuff gets updated, I do post it to our website, but then I also put something on Facebook that links back to the website. Yes.
What's the Facebook page called? There's so many different ones.
Right. It's PTA Georgia. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me see if it's on the homepage, because I always get this wrong, because I always tell people it's Georgia PTA, but that's not what it is. I think it's PTA and then the word Georgia spelled out. Here it is. Facebook.com/PTA. Yeah, Georgia. There it is. Because I always get that wrong. I say it backwards.
It's PTA Georgia or Georgia PTA?
PTA Georgia. And if you go to the homepage for Georgia PTA, it's right down here, and you can just click on it.
Facebook.com.
Oh, sorry, right here. And if you need to talk to me, if you think it's going to be a longer conversation than just an email's worth, then shoot me your phone number and I will call you back, because I'm happy to walk you through anything that you need. That's what I'm here for. Again, any questions you have, or if you think of something you don't know how to do it, or you want suggestions of how you should try to do it, just let me know. I can, as you guys can tell, I've been talking for about an hour and 10 minutes. I can talk about reflections all day long. So just, whatever you need, that's what I'm here for. I am making efforts to get the posters for your school that you would normally get in your local unit packs. The reflections poster that's put out by the state of Georgia, I am sending those to your council, but I am also going to put one on the reflections page of the website here so that you can just download it, because I don't know if you're going to be able to get them from the councils, but it will be on the reflections page here, down here with this other extra info, so that you can just download a copy of it. It's unfortunate because this year's poster it's a first for the state of Georgia. It was done by a special artist entrant. And so I was very proud of it, because Georgia PTA has never picked a special artist student's entry before as the winner for their poster. Each year, the states are allowed to make their own reflections poster based on the entries they receive. And so Georgia has been doing that for, I want to say, about 15 or so years. But yeah, so we normally pick from the 2D visual art, 3D visual art, and photography pieces, and that's how we pick our poster winner for the following year. And so you have to use, we use the 2019-20 entries and pick an entry that works for the theme of 2020-21. So you have to kind of look at it and be creative, but this student's worked really well. Her artist statement was, it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, it only matters what you look like on the inside. And so hers was chosen for that. It's very cute. It's a bunch of little hearts with a little heart necklace. And she was a 5th grader from Area 2 Gwinnett Council, so go you guys. But anyway, so I am trying to get those uploaded so that you can download a copy if you want one, or you can contact your councils to try to get your actual copy from them if you want. But again, if you guys need anything from me, shoot me an email, reflections@Georgia, spell out the whole word, PTA.org. Check out the YouTube channel. There's tons of info on there. Check out the virtual display that I have on the website here under Reflections Winners to get yourself some ideas for how to do stuff virtually. And then just keep, stay tuned, be flexible, be creative. And, thank you guys so much for helping out in this crazy time. I really appreciate it. Obviously the students do, even if they don't tell you, because we could not do this program without all of you. There's no way I could do this myself without all of you guys. So I appreciate it so much. And thank you for spending your time with me this morning.
Hey, Angie, before you go.
Yep, absolutely.
So sorry.
No,
there were some questions in the chat that I didn't think that you saw.
Oh, no, I'm terrible about turning on the chat.
That's okay.
So sorry,
can
people.
I just ask you them?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of them was that some parents have asked if they could submit artwork virtually or digitally instead of submitting actual artwork this year, if that's a possibility.
That is totally up to your chair, what your chair wants you to do.
Okay. There was another question about where that the sign that you posted, and you said your son was going to draw something as well. Like, is that a poster or a sign that we could have access to?
That is this is the actual flyer that National put out. That you can download from the Georgia PTA website. It is under promotional materials. If you just click on that, it's the one that's right here, I Matter Because, and it is in Spanish on there as well if you need both.
Awesome.
You just download it from there. What else?
And I was looking for one more, and because one of those was my question, so I just want to
Got
make
it.
sure I got answered.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that was it. But I just wanted to let you know that there was some in there. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Angie.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry. Yeah, if I missed somebody, I apologize. I am the worst at this chat thing. This is supposed to be the last one of the Zoom trainings, but honestly, it probably won't be. I'm already thinking about doing another one the week of 8/17, because then that's the week that by then everybody will be back into school. So I thought that would be another good week to do it, just kind of do a Q&A one, because then you'll have sort of started back to school, and then you'll be like, okay, these are the things that I'm coming up with now. What do I do? So, but you know, if you guys need anything, please don't hesitate to email me. You can call the office directly and they will give you my phone number. It's totally fine to call me. I don't mind. I will, I tell them, give out my phone number always, because it's so much easier sometimes to just talk about it over the phone than try to go back and forth between 10 emails. So if you have trouble downloading anything from the website, shoot me an email and I will email it to you directly. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate it. Again, let me know if you need anything. And thank you so much for your time. You guys have a great day.
Thank you so much for your generosity, Angela. You're very generous. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Thank you, guys. Have a great Saturday. Bye-bye.
You might want to save the chat just for your future. If you can do that on the right-hand side, if you stop sharing and open up the chat, it'll give you the option to save it if you need it. You're welcome.
My I have it set to do the recording and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No worries.
So
Thank you.
much.
And since you're still on here, I'm the one that couldn't log on and I never got the invite.
Oh,
and my
no.
co-president could see it on the website, but I couldn't
Gotcha.
for whatever reason. So I was in late, but I just thank you. I'm so glad I logged on because I have no idea. So I will probably be sending our chair to you in the future. And thank you. Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, obviously I get a little excited about this program, but yeah, I can talk anybody through any part of the program. So just let me know what you guys need, okay?
Thanks again.
Thank you for your help.
Have a good Saturday. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.